Alrighty, so with that, we're going to come down here and get ready for the engine startup. So we're just going to make sure battery's on, like we said earlier. Both generators are going to be off because we can't start either engine with either generator on. Avionics off, inverter off. We're going to turn both our ignition, engine ignitions on, and what those are going to do is we're going to get the actual sparks going as soon as we click the igniter on or the starter on, so that whenever we introduce fuel, it'll light right off. And then we're kind of going to talk about what we're going to be looking for here. So what we're going to be looking for is with the right engine, we're going to turn the starter on. We're going to see the turbine compressor RPM begin to increase here. We're going to want it to be at least around 13. Above that, starting to stabilize above that when we introduce fuel. We're also going to want to see the oil pressure down here on this bottom right gauge come off the zero line. We don't necessarily need it to be all the way in the green, but we want to see that the oil pressure is increasing here. So in this view, you can see down here in the bottom right, we have both of our condition levers. When we bring it into low idle, we're going to come back up and look at our ITT gauge. We're going to make sure that as the engine begins to accelerate with the introduction of fuel, you'll see the fuel flow start to go, and this NG is going to start rising, that our interstage turbine temperature doesn't start swinging up pretty rapidly. What that means, if that happens, is that we've had some sort of issue inside the engine that's going to lead us into a hot start. This engine's actually very resilient against that. You can see up here the actual start limit is 1080 degrees Celsius for 2 seconds, and the in-flight maximum here is just under 700. So as if we see this needle start to swing up even past the in-flight, we know that, oh wow, something's not quite right, and we can abort it well before it gets to the hot start level. And really, unfortunately, with the limitation of X-plane, it's not going to be very hot at all. They don't really simulate it coming swinging out and then back down like the real engine would. It's just going to come up slowly till about 300 or so. So kind of a little flaw in the simulation, but oh well. It'll keep us from getting all excited over a hot start. So props full forward. We'll do the full forward here for the right one, then we'll feather the next one. We got both our ignitions on, and we got the juice that we need on the battery. So here comes the starter for the right engine. There's a starter. We got rotation on the NG. There's above 13. We're going to bring it into low idle. We hear the light off. We got fuel flow. ITT is rising. We can see the needle moving. It's not moving very fast. We got NG rotation here, and we got the prop RPM starting to come up as the engine accelerates. Alrighty. So now what we're looking at here is an engine that's more or less stabilized. We've got ITT stabilized right around 300 Celsius here, no torque. Our prop RPM is going to be idling right around 1100. Our NG's at 59. Stable fuel flow, and we got good oil pressure and temperature. So I want to release the starter. We don't need it anymore. And what we're going to do now is what's called a generator assisted start. So what we're going to do is come back over here to this electrical panel, and we're going to click on the right generator. And if we look up here, you're going to see the right DC load is going to go up pretty high because that one generator is supporting what we're going to be doing here. And then we got our total DC volts coming back up above 25, which is great. So in order to help this generator kind of recharge and get going, we're going to move the right condition lever into high idle, which is that all the way forward stage. And what you're going to see is an increase in the fuel flow. The turbine NG RPM is going to go up to about 70, and the prop RPM is going to actually go up to about 1550. So I'm going to bring it all the way up. So there's our 70. Prop RPM is starting to increase. And we see a higher ITT, but certainly nothing to be concerned about. And we're looking great. We're looking really good. So now normally what we would do is kind of leave this where it's at and give it a minute or so to charge up. In preparation for our next engine start that we're going to do in feather to demonstrate that the engine can be started in feather just fine. We'll feather that prop there. And let's just say if we've let it run for a couple seconds or a minute or so, what we're going to do is turn off the right generator, click on the left starter, and then turn the right generator back on. Because like I said, we can't hit that switch with the right generator going. So when we do that, we're going to see the right generator assist the left starter generator in getting the prop turbine. So we're going to come back over here. Well, now that I think about it, I'm not really going to be able to do that. So we're not going to simulate that. We're just going to turn the right generator off, saying it's charged up enough. The reason being I can't release the switch and get it out to where we can see it in an appropriate manner. So right generator is going to come out, and we'll come back out here and start the left engine. We're looking for turbine RPM increasing. There's above 13 here. We're going to bring the condition lever up to low idle. There's the light off with fuel flow. We see the ITT rising through 200, slowly and surely. NG rotation, oil pressure in the green. The prop RPM's coming up, but not very much. And we're coming up on 59% NG. There it is. And the engine's stabilized. I'm going to disengage the starter. We've got 300 NG, or 300 degrees Celsius there, nice and cold. 200 RPM, 59%, and good fuel flow, oil pressure, and temperature. So with that done, we can come back over here and turn both generators on. So now they're helping power, now both starter generators are set to generator mode. They're helping provide electrical energy to the aircraft. We can bring our avionics on and our inverter on also. There we go. So now we've actually got, something pretty to look at. GPS and our HSI and all that's going. So, as you can see, the engine is running just fine here at 200 RPM. It started essentially exactly like the right one did, but in feather. I know in a piston engine, you're not going to be able to do that. The PT6A, and even with the a thick shaft turboprop like a Garrett, like the TPE 331, you're not going to be able to do that. So the PT6A is kind of unique in that fashion. It doesn't matter if you're running it in feather or fine. The gas compressor, the jet engine itself, is going to be able to do its own thing and operate at its best speed. So we are going to unfeather that prop there, bring it all the way up, and we will bring the right condition lever back down to low idle. There we go. And let those kind of figure their way out. Right prop's coming down, the left prop's coming up, and the torques should about equal out. We can turn the ignitions off for the time being. No more displays on the cause panel. And really, we're ready to taxi at this point. There's nothing else we have to do here for the startup. So in part 2, we'll go through the taxi, takeoff, and climb out of Centennial Airport.